I was living in Tiana at the time, and been in Tiana and been involved with helicopters and aeroplanes, and I decided that actually there's no helicopter operating in Christchurch. So I thought, well, that might be a bit of an opportunity. We decided to bring up a little helicopter from Tiana, and I thought the most logical place, or one of the most logical places, would be down at New Brighton, because in those days New Brighton was, of course, quite a busy place, where tourist flights, just basic short flights around there and around the city. And yeah, that went really well. I realised the value of helicopters for not just commercial or tourist type work, but mainly a lot of things for like emergency transport, firefighting, lifting jobs in town, conservation type work, police work. There's quite a large range, and of course, without having one in Christchurch, I thought, well, there's maybe an opportunity to start. It didn't really come into my mind that this is not going to work. It was a wee bit of indigestion, I might add, when the council decided that we had to shift to Christchurch Airport. Hamish Hay, who was the mayor at the time, he rang me up after the council had made that decision for us to shift to the airport. He said he wanted to see me about helicopter operating in Christchurch. And so I went in and saw him, and we got the map out on his big desk. And so we decided on that spot in Memorial Avenue. And he said, yeah, that should be good, you go and do it. So out we went, and maybe 2 weeks later we started the foundations. Knowing that you're supported by other people, it's not just my dumb idea. It was an idea which I probably could see as working in the future. And we picked up a guy, one helicopter, and picked up a guy one night off Brighton Beach. His fishing boat sank. We went out with a little helicopter, and dark night with a torch, and managed to get him on the skid, and then carted him to shore, and then back and got his mate. Pretty unbelievable, really. And that's the sort of start of these things that start happening. And that system starts to grow, and then it becomes a situation like it is nowadays. It's an essential service, because last year I think we undertook more than 2,000 missions in the helicopter, and 1,500 missions with our air ambulance operation. So it will make a lot of difference to people's lives, to be honest. We cover from the Waitaki River up through Lake Ohau, through Haast. The rest of the South Island North is an area that we cover for emergency transport. And it's very significant in lots of factors because of even the terrain that we have. We've got high mountains to the sea. So one minute the boys are getting somebody off the side of Mount Cook, the next minute we're picking somebody off a fishing boat 30 miles offshore. So the diversity of the operation is pretty massive. We'd probably done 20 years or 15 years of helicopter operations prior to starting the flying doctor service. So what happens is a helicopter goes to accident in Haast to pick up the patient, and take a medic crew down there, pick up the patient, bring the patient back to Greymouth Hospital. And then but Greymouth Hospital doesn't have all the equipment and specialist care for that patient, so that patient then's got to be shifted to Christchurch. Well, helicopter to Christchurch is okay some days, but you've got to go through the mountains and bumpy helicopter, not perfect, airplane and expensive. Helicopter's probably double the cost operating than the airplane. So pressurised airplane, go with medical team, pick up patient from hospital and bring them to Christchurch. Half the cost, better for the patient and better for the taxpayer who's paying the money. So that's the logical thing. One of the huge advantages we do happen to have is that we've got the integrated service between the rescue helicopter and the air ambulance operation. So the two, of course, work in the same facility, and they work together. And in particular, the clinicians in the hospital make a decision as to which is the best way to transfer a patient, and then we'd use the appropriate tool, rather helicopter or airplane. A helicopter and these sort of services are such a value to our communities. Every single day, doing some good things for people. You're saving a lot of people's lives, and because they're not going to live unless they get picked up by a helicopter with their specialised team. If you can pick somebody up and back a Cheviot somewhere, who's going to probably take 3 hours to get to Christchurch Hospital, and we can have them in hospital in 20 minutes. Well, the chances of them, first of all, are surviving is probably massive. Then of course, the most important thing for a taxpayer in New Zealand is they can get out, they can get looked after quickly. That means they'll recover quickly. That means they can get back to their family and get back to their job. We've got a number of staff members that's probably been with us 35 years. So, that speaks for itself, to be honest. Most staff stay a long time, and that tells me that gives me a bit of an indication that they're relatively comfortable with what they do. I think probably one thing that does surprise me is the growth in some areas of the business, and we've had enormous support from the people of Canterbury. That's another reason why Canterbury is our base, and we want to keep it that way. We get a lot of support from the community to provide these services, which is quite massive. I've had the boss man from Cessna come over to here and tells us it's the best integrated facility on the planet, which is pretty nice for a big company, because we have very, very good facility. And we've made a big effort and invested considerable money and effort with our team into that service. So most of my friends work with us in GCH Aviation, and yeah, of course that's really important. Airplanes and planes are just a phone call away. And there's plenty of them. There's no drama there, but different deal in having people and making people make sure everybody's on the same page. So yeah, without a doubt, it's the people that are involved and the support we've had from such a huge number of people. It's quite fantastic. I also think it's really good for my kids, my family, and their kids, and I think that's where we're quite enthusiastic to keep it strong.